I wish I could show you just how precariously balanced my phone is right now. Pretty awesome. So, smoking Westminster and the disposable legend. And I don't really talk about this stuff too much on the channel anymore because everything I said about it in the beginning was wrong. But I just kind of want to acknowledge, the moment that we're all dealing with right now. We had our first, yesterday we had our first case of COVID-19 in North Carolina. And by the evening, my local grocery store was sold out of hand sanitizer and some kinds of disinfecting wipes and interesting things like brown rice, prepper things. And when I went shopping, I noticed not a lot, but several people who had carts full of non-perishable goods, and that's good. That's good. I'm glad people are stocking up. I wondered if it maybe was just a timing issue, like, maybe I just hadn't restocked, but I went to another grocery store this morning and the shelves looked the same. So this is a true moment. People are, I don't want to say panic buying because I think it makes sense. It's not like they had bought out all the Captain Crunch. People aren't knocking each other over in the parking lot. But yeah, everybody's on it. I think that something we've all been living with for the past 4 years is normalcy bias. Like, this is normal. People are buying a lot of hand sanitizer. There's a big disease out there, but it's not normal. And normalcy bias is incredibly dangerous because there have been global pandemics in the past. Let's be honest, this is a global pandemic, even if the World Health Organization has yet to use that term because of reasons. But what I want to point out is the CDC has quit disclosing the numbers of tests, the numbers of positives, the numbers of... The CDC has quit putting out numbers. The president put Mike Pence in charge of this task force or whatever, and now the Secretary of Defense is telling the military to make sure they don't go above and beyond the task force recommendations because we gotta keep the messaging on point. Everything is fine. And so we don't want the soldiers out there trying to protect themselves from a virus when everything is fine. All messaging has to go through Pence, right? Including CDC stuff. What I want to say is, when you read a sci-fi book, when you read The Stand or whatever, and the government's trying to cover up the pandemic, that's what's happening right now. That's literally what's happening right now. And all the shit that we gave China about covering up their issues when it got started there, we're doing the same thing. There was a piece in The Atlantic about how the actual number of coronavirus cases in the U.S. it can't be anything but drastically underreported because gene sequencing says that it's been here for weeks and weeks. So this is the moment that if you take an objective look at things, you realize that the government really doesn't give a shit about you. And that's not really news to anybody, especially if you're not a fan of the current administration. You probably already feel that way, whatever. What I want to point out is that no one in the CDC is leaking information. There are no heroes behind the scenes in the bureaucracy coming out and saying, oh, actually, this virus is everywhere. Go buy your hand sanitizer now. That isn't happening. Yet we all know, a high school biology student would tell you what's going on. So this is what this looks like. This is the real deal. It's happening now. Now, nobody should panic. I'm not panicked. And man, if I'm not panicked, you can keep yourself from panicking. I have a freaking anxiety disorder and I'm doing okay with this. So everybody just chill out. But here's the deal. I'm going to make a prediction, even though I said I was never going to do that again. I'm going to make a prediction. A couple of weeks from now, we're going to have major outbreaks, thousands and thousands of cases. In the U.S., we're going to be closing schools, universities, and all that sort of thing. The Trump administration right now is trying to keep things settled down because they're worried about spooking the markets. They're worried about his reelection. That's only going to be a viable strategy for another week, 2 weeks, and then things are going to be out of hand. At that point, it will behoove Trump in his reelection bid to come out as a strong man and say, I'm on top of this, and if you just give me a little more power, I can fix it. I think up until now, the administration has really missed the boat. Like, I think that they could have come out early and enacted travel bans. I mean, here's a guy that loves to close the borders. Like, why didn't they do that? And I think it's because they just didn't. I mean, here's also a guy that yesterday asked his health advisors, well, wouldn't the flu shot work? So I think that it's literally a case of they just didn't. They just missed it. And what I'm worried about is once they actually get on the ball, because they're not going to stop the virus, but they're going to use the virus. They're going to use the virus to gain a lot more power. Now maybe you're wearing your MAGA hat and you think that's cool and whatever. I'm not going to argue with you. But I would caution you. That kind of power isn't given back very easily. And I think that the American right, where I found a home for a long, long time, has been worried about some future dystopia where our rights are curtailed and we lose our ability to resist. It's not a future dystopia. That's where we are. Oddly, I'm okay with it. I mean, I don't like it, but I also know there's nothing I can do about it. And we've got our beanie weenies and our hand sanitizer, and we're just gonna have to see what happens. Nothing else to do. And so I am not sky is falling, Chicken Little kind of in the mood that I would have been in had this happened 4 years ago. I feel like I'm staying pretty sober about the whole thing. Which, there's a little bit of irony where when these things, the last 4 years, I've just been like, why didn't this happen when I was in my early 20s and I could have enjoyed it? I can't climb on the roof with my rifle anymore. My knees are bad. I'm 38 years old. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that's not even the appropriate response. And I've, through the last 4 years, talking to you guys about all this stuff and just all the stuff I've been through in my head, and I'm fully at peace with the fact that is not the appropriate response. We're not meant to have control of these things. I don't know what that means, but I have come to that realization. So go buy your hand sanitizer while you still can. Don't knock anybody over in the parking lot to get it. And remember this moment, because we'll be telling our future generations about it someday. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.